Hi, everybody. I'm Talk to Me Goose. Starting a new YouTube channel called Talk with Goose. So, what we're going to be doing today is a video with World of Tanks players that are also military veterans. So, I have today a special guest. His name is Irish Tom in game. Fantastic guy. He's going to share a little bit about his career and rank and different things like that, guys. So, I'm going to let him take it away.
Hi, Goose. My name is Tom. I am a veteran. Uh, Basically, I started my career in the military in 1969. I enlisted in the United States Army, which was quite unusual back then because we were still going through the draft period. Uh, I was very active in sports in high school. I had good grades in high school, plus I was a Eagle Scout, so I started out as a PFC, Private First Class, an E3 in the United States Army.
Oh,
And
that's really
as I
cool.
as I
Starting
was
out as an
going
E3. So because you were in Eagle Scouts, they let you start in as an E3.
right, well, because I had letters and and I had really good grades.
Okay.
They start. Yeah, I think it was mostly because I was an Eagle Scout,
There you go. Okay.
but um, I started out in basic training at Fort Jackson in August after graduating from high school the previous June. I was 17 years old, so I had to have my one of my parents sign for me to get in. Uh, I showed up. I went down to Fort Jackson, and probably about the third or fourth weekend of an 8 week period, the drill sergeants had us all gathered around and were asking anybody that wanted to volunteer for a school. Uh, I thought,
Interesting.
oh, hey, classroom, kickback, air condition, maybe, or just big fans because it was hot at Jackson at that time period. They didn't tell me it was jumping out of a perfectly good aircraft.
So an
So
airplane that was perfectly flying well, no issues, they want you to jump. Okay.
right,
Gotcha.
parachute. And because of that, I was able to increase from $69.98 a month base pay as a PFC to an additional $55 a month for jump pay.
Oh, that's really
All I
cool.
was
Okay.
all I was required to do was make one jump every 3 months, so four jumps a year. I ended up having 176 military jumps on my log and 375 sport parachute jumps on my log when I retired after 9 years of from airborne status. I was still in the army.
So you said you had 176 actual military jumps.
Military jumps, yes,
So
and one of them was considered a combat jump.
can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we my platoon. I was part of the 18th Airborne Corps, 118th MP Company, but I was assigned to the 65th MP Company, which was the same battalion, because I was special duty working military police investigations.
Okay.
They picked out guys that had combat experience, and they made a special platoon that jumped in with the Rangers to take the international airport of Grenada back in the 80s.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Being in the Army is like being on a football team, practicing 7 days a week, 12 to 18 hours a day, and finally the coach comes around and says, "Hey, I got a game, but you might get killed in it. Do you want to play?"
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a little
yeah.
hard. That must like when they come to you. What's that feeling like when they come to you to say, "Hey, listen, like, this is the situation that we have. Are you in or are you out?"
Yeah,
Do,
it's exciting. It's an adrenaline rush. I mean, most guys that make it well in the military are adrenaline junkies.
gotcha.
When I was younger, I went through jump school. I went through Pathfinder school. I went through air assault school. I went to sniper school down at Fort Benning. Um, we did a lot of work because we were an overstrength MOS, military occupational specialty. We did a lot of work with because we were at Bragg with the special forces. We used to aggress against their trainees. We used to aggress against their regular troops that were in training. Uh, uh, it was a lot of fun. I can't say any. For me, everybody's military career is different. Some people detest every minute they're in the military, uh, for one reason or another. I didn't. Wherever I went, I would find some place to go fishing, or go
Nice.
hunting, or go shooting. Things I like to do, I could do in my off duty time.
So you always found something wherever you went, something
Right,
that you enjoyed, off
right,
duty time where you had your downtime that you could kind of go and just kick back and do your own little thing.
right. Plus, I knew, because my dad was a career retired officer, and he said, first of all, he told me not to volunteer for anything. Well, I threw that one out the window. But the
Yeah, when they
more
asked
act,
you, did you want to go to school? You were like,
right,
sign me up. I'm in.
the, the more active you are, the more times you say, "Yeah, I'll do it, Sergeant. Yeah, I'll take that detail," or "Yeah, I'll do it." You don't If you don't argue about it, you just go ahead and do it. They
Nice.
they kind of like you a lot better. You get more rank. You get more responsibility. Yes, but you don't get all the really bad jobs. Like
Gotcha.
mopping the floor or cleaning the toilet. Those are the real the bad jobs.
Yeah, nobody wants to do
Uh,
that.
I was like 2 days in my unit at Bragg. It was the middle. It was early fall, so it was still warm. And our sergeant, first class, Rebels was his name, asked for somebody to volunteer to help the dog handlers. I raised my hand. Sure, I'll do it. They
Yeah,
put me. I'm 6 foot. I'm 6'3". At that time I was 205. I'm probably in the best physical condition of my life. I
nice.
could run 6 miles without breaking a sweat.
Oof.
200 push-ups in no 100 push-ups in 2 minutes, and 100 sit-ups in 2 minutes or less.
See, I can tell you right now, I run 60 meters and I break into a sweat. So six
Right. Well,
miles, my goodness, my man. That's
we had
it's
to
quite the achievement.
we had to run to stay qualified. You had to run 2 miles in like you had to do it in less than 14 minutes.
Whoa. Okay.
So I mean, you had to have
You had
six
to
or seven.
cruise. You had to
Yeah,
cruise.
you had to be able to hoof it. Um, Plus, I got to brag when General Emerson, who was a three-star general who had gotten severely injured in Vietnam by a Willie P grenade, and he'd gotten severely burned on his leg, so he liked to run a lot to keep his skin stretched out. And anytime the general ran, he had to have an escort of four armed MPs.
Were you
And
one of those?
yes, I was one of them.
Dude, what was that like?
Oh, first of all, everybody else is running around in shorts and a t-shirt. You're in a shorts and a t-shirt with a sweatshirt on, with a shoulder holster on, with a loaded 45.
Because you're with the general.
Right, and plus I happen to be a very good shot. I enjoyed it. Uh, I used to shoot a lot when I was in the military. Not only, anytime they wanted to go to the range and shoot, I would volunteer. But also when you have to qualify every so many months, I would shoot, and I would shoot well. I
Okay.
represented the United States Army at the President's 100 Cup
Oh,
up
no
at
way.
Camp Perry. I was one of 100 individuals in the armed forces that got to wear the tab during my military career.
When you go to that competition,
It's
what kind
it's
of
well
weapon were you discharging?
you you use an M14 for the rifle,
Okay.
and you use a 45 back then for the pistol, and you have to qualify 3 years running at a certain percentile level,
Oh, wow.
and it
Okay.
gets harder each year. It's very very competitive, very competitive. I mean, you might have thousands of guys shooting for 100 slots,
And you were one of the 100.
right? And see, the
Congratulations.
thing
But
is,
man, I'm gonna tell you right now, dude, congratulations.
thank you.
That's really quite a feat when you think about how many people would be shooting at ranges and trying to hit that percentile. So to be able to have that and wear that with honor, I'm sure for you at the time was probably one of those things. It's like, listen, this has been great.
Well,
Um,
when I went through Ranger School, which is 52 days long, and it's basically they teach you how to stress yourself with very little sleep. Basically, you do long range patrols and ambushes. Uh, you get you get a shower the first night you get there when you arrive, and then you start the class, and then you get another shower the night you graduate.
Oh,
You get a
jeez. What?
you get a sit down meal the day you get there for before the school starts, and you get a sit down meal the day you graduate. The rest of the time you're eating C rations and you're in the field, or, and
Whoa.
you have to be airborne qualified. Oh, they'd have 25, 30 miles away. They'd have a spot, sometime late in the afternoon, and then they'd say the next day at noon you have to be at this location where you will pick up your rations. If you get there at 5 minutes after 12, you'll
No
see the
ration.
truck. You'll see the truck driving down the road as you run up to the location, and you will not get fed that day.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
So it was no joke then.
we started out with 700 members in my class. We graduated 70.
So 10% of the
Right,
original class
right.
actually passed. 90% failure rate.
Now this was also right at the end of right after the Vietnam
Right.
era, the Vietnam War era. So it was plus everybody knew you had to have those schools to get promoted.
Right.
Those schools equaled points,
Okay.
and I was at the point where I had like 820 some odd out of a possible score of 1,000, and for the military police corps to make E4 to go to E5, a sergeant, you had to have 999 or 998. We used
Right.
to say it was 999 and 998 forever. I was an E4 corporal, but I was an acting sergeant, so I was pulling a sergeant's job but not getting paid for it.
Gotcha.
So I had started looking around. I was actually thinking of getting out of the service. I had
Okay.
applied to several police departments, and they had inquired back on my resume, and some of them were giving me offers to, and I had to make sure that I could accept the offer. And my sergeant major, my command sergeant major, got word of it, and he called me in his office, and he says, "Sergeant Leach, we don't want to lose you. What'll it take to keep you in the service?"
Right.
I said, "Well, Sergeant Major, I can't stay in E4 corporal, getting working an E5 job and getting paid E4." He said,
Doesn't
"Well,
yeah.
why don't you go down to the reenlistment NCO, which is a soldier right there in your unit. Um, he's like a recruiter, but he's a reenlistment
So
NCO.
when they talk NCO, that's non-combat officer, correct?
No, non-commissioned
There
officer.
it is. Thank you. Okay.
And they have a program where you reenlist for a minimum of 2 years
Okay.
for what they call a shortage MOS. They don't. Their guys are pulling their 3 years and getting out, so they don't have any NCOs to speak of.
Okay.
The day I walked in, there was two MOSs that were available. One was 19 Delta, which is in the armor. 19 is the armor, the tanks MOS, and Delta is the cavalry scouts.
Okay.
That would have been a cool MOS to get into because they were just transitioning to the Bradleys and the M1 Abrams, which are awesome vehicles to
Oh
fight in.
man, that yeah. So that must have been one of those things like you had to make a choice kind of deal,
Yeah,
right?
and the other one was 13 Fox. 13 being the number for field artillery, Fox being the identifier for Ford Observer.
Okay.
And since I like blowing stuff up,
Okay.
I I took the 13 Fox. I got $3,000 for reenlisting for 2 years. I got 1,500 the first year, and then the second year when on my reenlistment date, I got the other 1,500.
So when you saying Ford Observer, was that the guy that was like holding the lasers on targets to have artillery drop?
Well, back then we didn't have lasers yet.
Oh, okay.
What we did when I went to Fort, oh, first of all, I raised my right hand in front of my battalion commander and reenlisted for the 13 Fox. He promoted me right there on the spot to E5,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was guaranteed if I came out of the school at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, in the top 10% of my class, I was guaranteed E6,
So what rank is E6?
staff sergeant.
Okay.
It's three chevrons up and one rocker below.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sergeant is 3 chevrons up with no rockers.
So you graduate in the top 10?
Yes, I did. So in less than 8 weeks, I went from E4 to E6.
E6. So you went
Yep,
from
big
corporal to
staff
staff
sergeant,
sergeant.
and it was a big jump in pay,
I
big
bet.
time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And back in those days, this is where made field artillery very inaccurate. Now you could get if you were up on the hill in some impact area like Grafenwehr or out at Fort Sill, you could get the surveyor guys, that's their MOS, from the battalion to come out and survey your location. So you had one of the three guesstimates locked in.
Okay.
Then you would pick a target out in the impact area, a tank hulk, old tank that's been pulled out in there to be blown up again and over and over and over again.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you look at it and you take your compass and you shoot an azimuth to that tank. There again, you could be off plus or minus 1 degree, a guesstimation of what the actual cardinal direction was to that target. Then you look at your map and you guesstimated where the target was sitting on the map.
Holy smokes. Okay.
Okay, so the first round might be over or short because the fire directional center with the 6 guns for the battery are sitting off somewhere off in the distance, and they're triangulating where the information you're giving them for a target for their gun, their main gun to shoot at. Okay, your spotter gun.
Holy smokes. Okay.
So your first round might go out it might be 400 yards over and 200 yards to the left. So you make corrections.
Okay.
Okay, you say drop 400, right 200.
Okay.
They're going to make a correction. The next round comes out, and it's short by 200 yards, but it's online.
Okay.
So then you'd say add 200. They'd fire another round, and if the burst radius of a 155 millimeter howitzer is a 50-meter yard kill zone, you want the target within that
zone.
that kill zone.
So
then you
when we're playing World of Tanks, they have artillery in the game that have
Right.
155 howitzers, and you can, I mean, when they is it kind of like it's kind of like that where you can miss. That's why they have that circle in our game. That's
Right.
Kind of, I get you.
Plus
Okay.
they're using a spot. It's basically a laser designator, and but
I
they're
understand.
not being true to the artillery because the 155, the 8-inch, the 105 guns are extremely accurate.
Gotcha.
I could put a 55-gallon drum out in the impact area, and if once I got when I'm going to talk about this piece of equipment, this is the big story of my. I could put a round right inside that drum.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Holy,
So I mean, yeah.
buddy.
So in World of Tanks, the artillery is
They just do that for balance. That makes
right,
sense.
right.
That makes sense.
So you got these rounds splashing all around. Any enemy worth his salt is either going to get in a very deep hole or he's going to get in his vehicles and unask the AO, the area of operation. He's going to hightail it, right?
Of course.
Well, I had gone to Germany from the battalion that I was at Fort Knox, and it was the same. It was a battalion within the same regiment, the third Field Artillery Regiment. So I
Okay.
went from the second of the third to the third of the third.
Okay.
I'm in Butzbach, Germany, which is north of Frankfurt, south of Gießen. And we were still using the old method. Well, they shortly came out after I'd been about there 6 months. The Army fielded a new vehicle. It started its life as an M113. It was an armored personnel carrier.
Okay.
The designers designed a vehicle for the tow gunners. They called it the improved tow vehicle, and it was the M901. It was a stopgap measure to give the infantry guys some armor cover while they're firing their tows until they got the Bradleys.
Okay.
Well, when the Bradleys started rolling out, they turned in the 901s because the Bradleys were far superior. They came up with the idea of stripping everything out of the 901, putting a ground designating laser in the hammerhead,
Okay.
which is accurate to 9,999 meters, plus or
Holy
minus,
crap! So
plus or
like
minus
that's
one,
like 10 kilometers.
yes, plus or minus 1 meter.
Wow.
They put a GPS in your vehicle. They put a digital messaging device, which is basically a very small laptop that's all armored up, and all it's got is field artillery firing programs in it, which you can connect to the laser. So when you have your hammerhead up and you got your sight on, and you lock it in on the target, you push the button, it fires a laser at the target, feeds that information into that digital messaging device, and then you push a button to XMIT it over the radio in a burst mode to help your survivability. So they can't pick you up because it goes out real quick, and the radio's out not on long enough for them to try to triangulate your position.
Gotcha.
So we got these M981s. They're called the Fist V. V is in Victor.
Okay.
And we took them to Grafenwehr, which is probably one of the biggest. Well, it is the biggest impact area in Europe for anybody. Everybody uses it. And we were the first unit to fire this actual weapon outside of Fort Sill.
You were the first unit to fire it
First,
outside of territory.
right outside of Fort Sill where it was tested.
Wow. Okay.
You know, okay. We set it up. I was the third guy to fire.
What was that
the
like?
other-
What was that? What was that like feeling?
It's a rush. When you tell that guy to fire that gun, it's just like you pull the trigger.
Oh man.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I get a 155 millimeter round that hit the Hulk.
Nice.
And
You dead squared on it.
Didn't hit the ground around it. Hit directly on the tank. We ended up during that morning when we were shooting, we were averaging 6 or 7 rounds out of 10 actually hitting the tanks.
That's 60. So a 60% hit rate on the actual tank
with the first round.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So that afternoon, the 7th Armored Corps commander. There's only 2 armored corps at that time. Armored corps in Germany. One was the 5th and one's the 7th.
Okay.
Was on the hill watching us.
Oh man! Did you know he was there when you first started?
Oh yeah, I mean you're told he's coming. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a 3-star general.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes, he puts his pants on the same way we all do, but when
he's a general.
When you come over, you better be standing tall. I mean,
I get you. I get you.
And he comes, and since I'd been doing a lot of the firing because I was qualified for it. He came over to my track, and I had to ask him the question I had to ask everybody, because the equipment inside my track, you had to have a top secret clearance to look into it.
Gotcha.
So I said, sir, with all due respect, I have to ask you, do you have a top secret clearance? You can't look at my equipment in my track unless you have a top secret clearance. He says, yes, son, I have a top secret clearance. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And he stuck his head in my track and he started asking questions. I answered the questions, and he said, well, let me see you fire.
So what was that like? What was that like when he's there? The 3-star general's like, hey bud, do this for me right now while I'm watching you.
Yeah, sure. It's an adrenaline rush. It's better than a good shot of coffee, I swear.
That's awesome.
And I happened to me and the gunners they hit the target right on the noggin, and all I had to do was push my mic twice, click click, so it goes click click, or I go fire for effect. As soon as I see it hits, I go fire for effect. All 6 guns are gonna fire 3 rounds each.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
Now you remember the first gun fired. They're reloading while they're waiting for me to tell them. The other 5 guns have been following the first gun.
So it's like pop, 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 pop.
They're already loaded. I know it's like, boom. As soon as they hear fire, they all pull the trigger almost at the same time.
So it's simultaneous.
Yeah, almost simultaneous. I mean, there's maybe
a fraction of a second. Yeah,
and you got 18 within. And as soon as they get gun comes back into battery, they reload it as fast as they can, and they're humping. They reload it and they pull the gun. They pull it again. They
Boom.
reload it
Gotcha.
again, pull it again, and then they depress the gun, lock it in, and they
Holy
move.
smokes.
That's SOP. They move enough. They move 100 yards or 1,000 yards
So
to
they can't get
somewhere else.
locked onto to get. I
They
get you.
counter battery fire.
Counter
Right.
battery.
We're
Just
really
like in
good at that.
tanks, we do the same thing. In World of Tanks, when you fire, you can see the tracer round of
Right.
the artillery firing. That's why it's one of those advices to people. It's like, hey, after you fire,
Move.
time to move.
That's why we used radar for that.
Gotcha.
We had actual, in fact, the guns that were um, the 8-inch guns, which are even more accurate than the 105, and us is an 8-inch diameter versus a 155 diameter millimeter, uh, are dedicated for counter battery fire.
That's
That's yeah,
wild.
yeah, and you figure you got some mortar pukes. They're out there in the brush. They've got their little foxhole dug, and they plop around out over the hill, and it gets picked up by the radar. And before that round hits the ground, those 8-inch shells are en route to its target.
Holy smoke! So they don't
Yeah.
even have
So
a
I mean,
chance to move.
they don't even have a chance to change their underwear.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So this changed the whole thing about field artillery. Okay, I get a target. It's a scouting team. It's maybe 5 or 6 vehicles. They've pulled up. They're at the edge of a forest, and they've got their maps out, and they're looking with binoculars, and they're trying to see where we're at. And I can see them, but they can't see me. If I called in fire the old way, the rounds would start bouncing all around them. They'd get in their vehicles and drive away.
Yeah, of course.
Now this way,
That's
the
not
first
happening.
round, the first round lands right in among them, and they're doing what the,
Right.
and then all of a sudden,
Boom! 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 Boom!
yeah, right, yeah, 3 times.
There's no
Okay,
moving. You're. Yeah, I
yeah,
get you. I
yeah,
get
yeah,
you.
yeah. It completely changes uh, the battlefield. So that afternoon, the next morning, we have every division commander, corps commander, brigade commander, the Fifth Armored Corps commanders down. Everybody that's in USRA, that's a command of a, are there watching us do this. And I mean, I'm talking like 600, 700 generals,
Yeah.
colonels. I mean,
The people that
yeah.
matter that are checking this new technology out to make sure the money they've spent, the millions of dollars they spent developing it, it's paying
Well,
off.
they had no idea. This was something that came, that it would be this accurate.
Wow.
And the thing was, we had generals the following day that flew overnight from U.S.,
To check
especially
it out.
from Fort Sill, to watch us do this in real time.
What was that like, knowing that these people
Oh,
were flying over just to
oh,
check this out because you guys had such success?
goosebumps all over, brother.
Nice.
Goosebumps.
Nice. Yeah.
And a lot of us, because of that, we got picked out, and when it came time for promotions, there was a note from some general, or what they call a letter of commendation in your packet. You got pushed to the top of the
Because
list.
you're getting referrals. I
Right?
gotcha.
Yeah. You say this guy needs to be a sergeant first class instead of a staff sergeant.
Did you make sergeant first class?
In fact I made master sergeant.
Wow. Okay. So at the end of at the end of your career, you finished as a master sergeant.
Right. Well, what happened
Wow.
was, because I was a military policeman and I
Yeah.
was stationed in Germany. Because I had the skills, I learned how to ski as a youngster. I was tested at Garmisch. There's
Okay.
2 hotels over there that are run by the U.S. government. One is
Okay.
at the General Walker at Berchtesgaden, and the other one is, I can't remember the name of it, in Garmisch. But they're government property, so expenses are a lot cheaper for American GI and his family to come there and go ski for a week. The ski school is made up of GIs that are proficient at skiing. The ski patrol is made up of MPs that are proficient at skiing.
Wow. Okay.
So every year whenever I came back, I would automatically during the wintertime go to. I ended up going to Berchtesgaden. I loved it down there.
Skiing.
Uh, I've got stories I could tell you about that place too.
Another time.
Yeah. Well, that's where all the Hitler had all all of his mucky mucks had their big summer
Homes.
camps down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, summer homes. Yeah, a lot of history down there. And
That's crazy. So it's safe to say then the choice that you made instead of leaving the military and going to that school and taking those 6 weeks of courses uh, had a really big impact on your life.
well, I ended up spending 6 years of my. I did 25 years active duty, and
Yeah,
then when I was retiring from active duty because of a knee injury, I was being forced to retire.
that
The
sucks.
active National Guard wavered my knee and brought me on board for 7 more years. So I had a total of 32 years of service.
So I want
I
to let you know, man. I know I'm Canadian, and I know you're part of the U.S., but it doesn't matter. You're a serviceman, and I want to let you know how much it means to me that you guys selflessly do your jobs to protect, North America. Let's be honest. The Canadian, the U.S. forces have pretty good ties.
um, just
Um,
just
so
just
thank
for
you,
your
man.
information, one of I have several foreign jump wings I get to wear on my Class A's and my dress uniforms. The foreign jump wings are really neat. You should look them up sometime.
I will.
They're usually about 3 to 4 inches long and an inch and a half to 2 inches tall, and they're embroidered patches. And two of the best ones I liked was the Canadian jump wings, which I am entitled to wear, and the Israeli jump wings. Most of the jump wings have a big circle in the middle of the wings that is an embroidered picture. Obviously, the Canadian one is white with a red maple
Maple
leaf,
Leaf.
and the Israeli one is white with a blue Star of David.
So you have a couple of them.
Oh, uh, yeah, I've got a lot of them. English, most of Europe. In fact, I somewhere in my photo collection, I've got a picture from when I was getting the Panamanian jump wings of a certain little boy that liked to dunk his face in hot grease for the apples.
Oh wow.
That Noriega.
Okay.
Yeah, he was shaking my hand uh,
Wow.
several years before when he was still in before he got into the drug trade and got on our bad side.
Gotcha. So yeah, no,
So,
man. Like I said, I would love sometime if you can get them like kind of in a line. I'd love to see a picture. If you want to post it in my Discord sometime of that,
well,
that would be great.
unfortunately, a lot of my pictures got destroyed.
That sucks.
Well, I married life in the military is not a good deal, especially for the wife because you spend a lot of time gone.
Yeah.
But I must admit I was able to convince three separate women that I was doing something right to marry me.
We
So,
will we will go with that another
yeah,
time, my friend. But
but
I want to
yeah,
thank you,
well,
Tom, for all your information that you shared.
yeah,
Um,
we could do more of
I
these. I
would
mean,
love to sometimes sit down with you
yeah,
and go over
sure.
some of the stories you have with some of the other things that you've listened to, seen, done. Some of your jump stories would be awesome because airplanes hold a really big impact in my life. My father's a pilot, so yeah, like hearing about those kind of things is really cool for me. I just happened to pick up this weekend while I was away with my wife the RCAF, all of the cufflinks and you can't see them, but everyone else will after. I got all the cufflinks and buttons for the RCAF. So yeah, airplanes and that
Ooh,
kind of thing
that's cool.
they're big for me. So, um, Tom, I wanted to let you know as well. I do have a little gift for you from Wargaming as well. To
Oh,
kind of because
it's
I
not
am
necessarily.
I know, but I'm a CC for World of Tanks in Wargaming NA. So I've been graced with a code that I'm able to give you after we're done. That will give you some premium time and a premium tank.
Oh,
So
outstanding!
so
My choice of tanker being
I wish it's I believe it's a T14. If you already have it, I believe you get the gold value for it.
That's cool. I
Um,
think I do have it, but that's
that's
cool.
like I said,
Yeah.
it's something that I asked for because you're taking your time out of your day to do this with me, and again, man, I want to let you know I thank you for your service. All the veterans out there that have served and protected and selflessly done a lot of things for our country. So,
Well,
dude,
be perfectly honest with you, I would do it all over again, except on my last deployment, I went to the back of the Humvee and got wounded. I should have gone to the front of the Humvee.
that's what happened. If you
Thir-
don't mind my asking.
Um, 2 rounds burned through the armor covering of the Kevlar covering of the Humvee, hit my vest, um, went through the steel armor plate and the ceramic armor plate and the Kevlar, and I swear to God, the doctor pulled the bullets out of my side with his fingers. But that,
They almost didn't make it through.
yeah, they almost. I mean, all they did was drag all that crap into my bloodstream, and it caused me to have infections for about the next uh, 6 or 7 years. Big
Wild,
boils.
eh?
Yeah,
Wild.
when you look like a cyclops and you scare women and little children, you can't go out on the street.
Yeah,
It wasn't life threatening. It was just
annoying.
annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and that's 3 tours in Vietnam, Grenada, Desert Storm. I never once uh, came close to a Purple Heart, and I had to win that on my last deployment. I could have done without that medal.
yeah, yeah. I can understand that for sure. And again, man, thank you very much for your time today, buddy. We'll definitely Irish Tom have to do this again. Uh, to everybody watching, thank you guys for checking it out. I'm sure Iris and Tom and myself will appreciate it. And have a great day, guys.
Out here.